Hey guys, today we're talking all about fonts because the right fonts can make or break your website. They can help elevate your brand, whereas choosing the wrong fonts can make your text less readable and drive customers away. Fonts set the tone for your website and help establish the personality behind the brand. Fonts can help shape the message you're trying to convey. Selecting the right font is a crucial aspect of brand design and shaping the experience a visitor has on your website. In this video, I'm going to share a few tips for choosing the right fonts for your website. I'll also share some of my go-to website fonts. But before I dive into choosing fonts, we need to talk about typography. The term typography isn't the same as font. Although font is an important part of typography, the big picture concept of typography is something more inclusive. It refers to all aspects of lettering, from the font itself to the size of the text, the spacing between the letters, the spacing between the lines, the length of each line of text, and even the color of the text. In short, when you look at text on a web page or printed page, every aspect of those letters and how they're laid out has, ideally, been considered very carefully. This is because typography, like the color of your background or logo, conveys a specific message. Think of the chic script-like text used for the luxury jewelry brand Cartier. Simply by looking at the text, you can tell that it's about elegance and sophistication. Feels a bit classic. Compare this with the capitalized block letters that Dollar Tree uses, conveying simplicity and practicality that's much more accessible to the average consumer. These two styles of typography couldn't be more different, but they're attractive to the target audience who would patronize their respective brands. Even the best copy on your website isn't going to get the full effect you want it to if it's written out in the wrong typeface and font. In this example, I'm using Quicksand on a site that is trying to appeal to the luxury French photography market. There's nothing wrong with Quicksand, but its round letters feel more casual and less high-end. Contrast that with a version that contains a mix of editor's note and Kestrel. It feels a lot different, doesn't it? As with every other aspect of branding, you need to make an informed and careful choice. Here are the 3 things you need to consider when choosing the best font. 1, readability and legibility. The most important aspect of your font is readability. You want a font that people can sweep their eyes across and process the words without a lot of stopping and struggling. Size, space, weight all play a role in this readability factor because some fonts might be easy to read at a regular weight with average space between the letters. But as soon as you give them a heavier weight and try to squeeze them together, they become a lot harder to read. So let's go back to the example with Editor's Note. It's a beautiful font, and in its thin version, it looks amazing for large headlines. But if we try to use it for body copy, the thin strokes would make it very challenging to read. Different fonts are going to lend themselves to headers and body text. Think about it. A header is usually fewer words at a much larger size, whereas body text is smaller and can run line after line after line. Generally speaking, thinner fonts work better for headlines. Consider typefaces such as Cormorant Garamond, Playfair Display Light, Editor's Note, and Montserrat Light. For body text, strive for a typeface that has a little more weight, which is going to make the individual letters stand out and make it easier to read without too much eye strain. Work Sans, Montserrat Medium, EB Garamond are all great options for body text. After you consider the readability of a font, the next thing you want to focus on is the personality a font conveys. Remember what we said about Cartier and Dollar Tree? Now's your chance to think about the personality that you would ascribe to your own brand and which typefaces might be a good option for conveying that. Consider some of these personalities that you might want to express and the typefaces that could be effective choices. Professional. For a professional tone, look at typefaces like Cormorant, Editor's Note, EB Garamond, Montserrat, and Lato. Playful. Most script typefaces tend to be pretty playful, but fonts such as Playfair Display, Ken Fogue, and Pretty Pen are also good options. Modern typefaces are going to have some overlap with professional ones, including Montserrat and Lato, but other modern typeface options include Railway, Helvetica, Butler, and Open Sans. For a vintage look, depending on the exact era you're striving for, you might be inclined to choose Editor's Note, Butler, or Perfectly 90s. Retro fonts are currently having a comeback, so these are popular fonts right now. All of this gives you so much to consider. You probably never expected that you were going to have so much to think about with fonts, did you? Well, we can help narrow it down a little bit more. Here are some of the popular font choices that many brands use for their websites, so you know they're going to be a safe bet. Top serif fonts. Consider fonts such as EB Garamond, Times New Roman, Georgia, Playfair Display, Liber Baskerville, and Cormorant-Garamond. Most of these are Google fonts, so they'll be available in platforms like Showit, Elementor, and Canva. And because it's always a good idea to pair a serif font with a sans serif font to use for headers, for example, consider a clean sans serif font like Montserrat or Kestrel, or use our Positano design, which works especially well with Cormorant-Garamond and Kestrel. Popular sans serif fonts include Montserrat, Open Sans, Arial, Helvetica, Roboto, Lato, and Railway. Again, most of these are Google fonts, so not only will they be built into many website builder platforms, they're also more likely to load quickly. Because sans serif fonts are ideal choices for body copies and sometimes headers, they can be tough used at big sizes. So maybe consider pairing them with Playfair Display like we did in our Cape Town design. If you want something a little different, that's cool. Standing out is great. Just remember that you never want to be so unusual that your text is hard to read. Our safe bets include just about anything from Jen Wagner Co. or Nikki Latz. Some things are great on their own, but they're not a good combination with each other. There's an art to pairing fonts. You're going to want to make sure that you're being smart about the types of fonts you're using together, or else you could end up with the result looking a little bit sloppy. Font pairing is all about contrast and hierarchy. Fonts shouldn't be too similar, just as you wouldn't want to use multiple versions of the same color. Think warm blues mixed with cool blues. Stick to only 2 or 3 fonts so you can ensure cohesion, with one of them being a serif, the other being a sans serif, and then your third could be an accent font such as a script. If you want to see some fonts that look great together, along with an explanation of why they work so well, we recently cultivated a lineup of our favorite free Google fonts and the best ways that they can be paired together. Your message is about so much more than just the words that you choose. It's how those words are presented that can make a big impact as well. Being thoughtful about all aspects of typography makes a big difference in the overall user experience people have when they come to your website. This in turn influences your brand perception. And be conscious and thoughtful of the fonts that you choose, even if that means taking a little bit of time or investing a little bit of money. Remember, the right font will elevate your website. If you like this video, we'd love for you to hit like and leave a comment. And be sure to subscribe to our channel for more resources about creating a brand and website that start conversations.